Welcome back to Same Right Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll be teaching you step by step how to sew this beautiful shoulder bustier Ankara pattern with lacings at the front. So here you can see we have our Modesty panel at the front. We also have our lacings at the front, as you can see. So it has a balloon sleeve as well, just as you can see on the video and on the thumbnail. So if this is what you want to learn in this class, I will encourage you to stay till the end of this tutorial to learn how this beautiful dress is made, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Also share this video so it goes viral so that other people will see and watch as well. So here is my neckline. You can see how it fits. So it's actually looking very beautiful. You can see the balloon sleeve, you can see the lacings, the strips. To begin this tutorial, you need your basic bodice pattern. So here I have my basic bodice pattern from the shoulder to the full length. So the full length I'm using here, I'm using length 26 inches. So just simply count 4 inches above your hip and then you get your full length. So I'm using 26 inches right here. So I'm just adding up my line to make up my 26 inches. Then extending my dart as well. So here I'm taking the measurement of my hip divided by 4. So I'll be able to make up my full length. So the shoulder, the neckline is 3 inches by width, and I'm going to divide my shoulder into 2 because we are making a shoulder dart. I'll connect it to the bust point. Then after doing that, I'm going to contour the under bust. So I'm taking my under bust measurement divided by 4. What I have left, I'll put 0.25 in front and the rest of it at the back. So just go ahead and contour your under bust the way you know how to do it. So now I'm going to connect the dart to the full length directly. So the shaded area right now is the dart, which I'm going to cut off for this particular blouse. So this blouse has an eyelet in front. So I'll just go up by 1.5 inch, or you can also divide this dress from the under bust directly, or come down 1 inch from your under bust, anyhow you want it. The upper will be Ankara and the lower will be plain. So now I'm going to go in. The neckline is 7 inches, so just measure your neckline and mark at the center front and go in by 2 inches from that point. So when I open, I'll be having 4 inches. So this is my loop line where I'm going to have my eyelets. So I'll connect it to the neckline, as you can see. So right now you can see what we have right there. So from that line that demarcates the Ankara and the plain, you can choose to make it at the under bust like I earlier said. So I'll come up by 2 inches from my hemline or the full length and connect it the way you see me connect right now, just to make that place a little bit slanty. So now I'm going to cut out what I have. My bust dart right there is 2 inches. So you know how to go about your bust dart technique. So I'm going to cut my pattern on the eyelet line, because that part we are going to replace it with our lacings. So I'm just going to cut out the down piece of it and cut out the darts, as you can see as well. So actually we made a shoulder dart. So this is how to go about a shoulder dart, in case you are wondering how to go about a shoulder dart for a blouse. So right here I'm cutting out the dart and I'm closing up my bust dart. So I'll go ahead and close up my bust dart accordingly, as you can see. So after closing the bust dart, the pattern for the front is almost ready. So I just want to go ahead to separate the Ankara part and the plain part of the front. So I'm going to cut it, as you can see, on the dotted line area right now. So I'll go ahead now. On that part I made my dotted line. I'm going to cut it out. Then separate the Ankara part from the plain part. So this is how it's supposed to be. So you can see that part. I'll keep my ruler straight right now because I want to join the full bodies together. So this is how you go about it. Just cut, make it straight, and then add up your pepper. So this is what we have right now. So I'll just go ahead and bring my pepper, add it up, and replace that part on the side. That part that I cut out, I'm going to replace it on the side. So I'm going to use my adhesive right now, or you can use your sellotape as well. So I will just make a little adjustment and bring it to match up with the center front. So just keep it at the center front of that plain pepper. So I'm just making little adjustments so it matches the way it should be. So that part I cut out, I'm taking the measurements right now. So I have 1.5, which is the dart. I'll replace it on the side, and then I'm going to reconnect. So I just want to make the full length of this blouse at 9 inches from that point. So I'm just extending my line by 1 more inches. That is what I did, so that it will come down a little bit. The plain part will come down a little bit. So I'll just go ahead and cut it out right there, and my pattern is ready. So this is how I'm going to join it once I cut it on fabric. So I want to go over to the back piece of this dress. So the back piece, this is my center back, and this is the shoulder line, the chest line, the waistline, and the full length. So one thing I want you to note is that coming over to the back, all the lengths will be shorter by 2 inches because of the bust dart technique. So the full length I was using before, like I said, is 26. So now the full length for the back should be 24. My dart for the back is 1 inch, so I also made sure I replaced it. So I'm going to contour my zipper part. On the waistline, I came in by 1 inch, and I'm going to connect it all the way through. Then that part, I'm going to cut it out. My neckline is still 3 inches, and the neck depth for the back is 1 inch. So I'll go ahead and connect the neckline. So now, after connecting the neckline, I've already come up by 2 inches on this side, and I placed my pattern ruler to rule that part, as you can see. So now I bring back the front pattern on the side, and I'm going to match it up on the side from that 2 inches, and I'll create my mark. Then from that point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch on the center back and slant that part. So if you want it a little more deeper, you can go by 1.5 on the center back, or even 2 inches. So this part, you need to create it the way you like. So here I'm going to cut out the contour line, the neckline. I'm cutting through the shoulder line, the armhole. I'm cutting through the sides as well. So now I'm going to shape in the down part and cut out the dart. So the dart we are still using is the same shoulder dart for the back, as you can see. So now I'm going to cut through that line, slanted line I made for the plain and Ankara part of this blouse. So I'll take off the upper piece and repeat the same process I did for the front. So I'm going to match the down part together. So you can see the dart, the open part of the dart. So I'll just cut out, make a straight line and cut out. So what I have there is 1 inch because of the dart. So I'll just quickly place my pattern on top of it and replace it on the side. Don't forget to replace it on the side, or else your pattern is going to be short at that point. So I'll just connect this way, and then I'll go ahead to cut it out, as you can see. So after I'm done, this is the Ankara part for the back. So I'm going to fuse the plain part to the Ankara part after we are done cutting the fabric. So this is what we have for our pattern. So the patterns are quite ready right now. So the next thing we want to do now is to move over to the cutting of the patterns. So this is what we have. Please make sure you keep the front piece of the pattern, that is the center front. You know, we took 2 inches for that opening. So from that point, we are going to take the measurement of our modesty panel. So our modesty panel right there is 18 inches. So please don't forget to note the length you got, because that is what we are going to use to cut out the modesty panel. So I will set that one aside. So here I have Ankara and plain. So I'm using 4 yards of Ankara fabric, and my plain piece is 1 yard. So I'll go ahead to hairstay. I'm going to hairstay the fabric first and cut. So I'm done cutting. I added 0.5 inch all around, and on the side 1.5 inches. So this is the back. I added 1 inch for zipper, and on the side 1.5 inch. So the next thing I'm going to do is to take off my pattern for the front, because we are going to work on the front piece first. So but I'm going to create a bustier. So I love to create my bustiers using my pattern. So I'll cut it from the under bust, I mean the bustier pattern. So I want you to watch how I'm going to create it. I made notches on the under bust of the dress first. So I'll just take my bust radius all around. So I'm taking 4 inches all around. So that is the bustier I'm going to cut. So I'm labeling it up and down, and then bust point, bust point. So from the bust point, I'll go up by 4 inches as well. So this is how I always like to create my bustier. So I'll just go ahead and cut it off right there. So I'm going to place it on my wadding, or feasible fleece, as some people might call it in some countries. So I'll just cut it out and add 1/2 inch. So you can see how I added the 1/2 inch. So I will bring back my pattern fabric, not the lining. I'm separating the lining, but I'll place this wadding on top of the fabric. So make sure you place it rightly. You can see my arrows for the bust points and the under bust. So on the center front of the fabric as well, I'll repeat the same thing. I'm going to place my wadding too, so make sure you place them appropriately. So after placing them, I will use my hairstay or feasible interfacing. I'll place it on top and iron. So here I'm done ironing them. I'll go over to the machine now. I'm going to stitch from the down to form the bustier. So here my bustier is ready, and this is what I have for my bustier. I gave it a good press as well. So after that is done, the front piece is ready. So I'm going to also sew my lining. So I'm going to use the same method to stitch my lining right now, sewing them from the down piece as well. So make sure you hairstay your lining, okay? So here is my modesty panel. So my modesty panel, I measured it length 18 like we measured, and the width, I'm going to take the width of it according to the spacing we gave. So I have 12 inches here. You know 4 inches was the opening, then 4 inches for the side for 2. That is 12 inches. So now you can see I made a notch on the neckline where we are going to start the modesty panel. So this is how you are going to pin the modesty panel. I have double of it. Of course, you know how to do it for the back lacing, but this is on the front. Just repeat the same thing. So I placed it on the fabric where we are going to attach it. Just go ahead and shaping out that part. Then don't forget to go up by 1/2 inch and make a notch. That is where we are going to attach the plain part of the dress. So I will match it up from the under bust, and I'm going to stitch right now. So this part you have to pay attention to it. So I will secure with my pin, and I'm going to sew, leaving the 1/2 inch. So you can see I left 1/2 inch. That is to attach the down piece. So I'm going to sew from that 1/2 inch up like that. Then I'll move ahead to give it a good press as well. So make sure you make notches to relax the bustier. So here we have our modesty panel together with the bustier. You know it's going to lay in front. So now I've given it a good press. So I'm going to stitch that 1/2 inch I left before separately and tuck in the modesty panel part that is open and stitch, as you can see. So I'm done sewing the boat. This is what I have. The front piece is ready. You can see my notches as well. So we are going to place it this way, so we'll have the open part of it for our lacing. So now the front is ready. I'll pick up the back piece. I added 1/2 inch, and on the side I added 1.5. So I'll just go ahead and sew each panel. I'm going to sew each to the fabric, and the part that is for lining, you see how I'm laying them. I will lift up the 0.5 inch on this part and stitch. Of course, when you are sewing this, you understand all of this. So this is what I have after stitching, and I've also stitched for that of the lining as well. So everything is ready for the front. So we are moving over to the back piece right away. So for the back piece is simple. The 0.5 inch part, just sew your shoulder and attach the down piece. Then this is the zipper part. So for the zipper part right now, before the zipper I also stitched the lining. So now the back dress is ready. I'm going to sew them shoulder to shoulder. So fabric to fabric, I'll sew on the shoulder line. Then I'll also proceed to sew lining to lining on the shoulder line. So I want to join them on the side. So after sewing the shoulder, just mark out your seam allowance and join the side of the dress. So I'm done sewing them right now. So I did the same for lining as well. So I'm going to reduce my lining by 1 inch. You know we are going to turn it as we do in blouses. So reduce your lining by 1 inch. That is exactly what I did. So I'll set the back aside and bring back the front. So the front piece right now, I'm going to sew my zipper. So I'll go ahead and sew my zipper only on the fabric. Only on the fabric. So I'll just mark 1 inch for the sewing. Okay, so I came up by 1 inch. Then I'm going to mark 1 inch. So that 1 inch I came up is just to sew the down piece of it. So before I go ahead to sew my zipper, after marking the 1 inch, I'm going to join the lining to the fabric. So this is my lining. I'm going to lay right side to right side for each side of the lining and fabric, and I'll proceed to sew the down piece of it, top stitch, and give it a good press. So I want you to pay attention to this part. So I'm going to stitch the down part. So I'm done sewing them and top stitch. This is what I have. So I have both lining and fabric. Everything is cute, and I'm going to stitch the part of the modesty panel that is dangling. So just place it and secure with your pin. Go over to the machine only on the lining, lift it up and stitch the modesty panel. So I'm done stitching, and this is what I have. So the dress is ready. Now we want to sew the zipper. So I want to show you the technique I'm using for this zipper right now. So you can see I've already ironed it and the lining is shorter. So if you look at that part, I'll open my zip and sew on the left side first. So I'll pick up the fabric part of this dress. So like I said, it's 1 inch. So I'm trying to mark that 1 inch again, so you'll be able to see it very well. So I'll lay my zipper. So I will lay my zipper as you can see right now. Go ahead and secure with your pin on the 1 inch line, and use your zipper foot to stitch. So I'm done sewing that part. I'll also lay it on the other side and use my zipper foot to stitch it. So make sure you mark the lines, okay? Make sure you fix it at the line of the plain and the Ankara. They need to match. So that is, after stitching one part of your zip, you place the other part to match the other part of the Ankara and the plain. So they need to be uniform. So that is exactly what I did right now. So I'm going to fold this to sew the lining together with the fabric to have a perfect inseam finishing. So I'll just go ahead and stitch on the line of the zip. So this is what we'll have on the zip right now. So you can see everything is matching like I instructed. So the dress is ready right now. We want to go over to the front strip. So for the front strip, you are going to measure the length of where you are going to attach the strip. So this strip length, I have 26 inches, but I'm going to make it 28 inches. There should be an excess. So I'll go ahead to stitch the end, one of the ends. I'll stitch it at 0.5 inch. So I'm done stitching. I'll turn it around and I'm going to lay it at the front part of this dress. Make sure you place them together. So it has to be together, lining and fabric together before you stitch. I'll open it up and you can see how I laid it, and I'm going to sew 0.5 inch. So after sewing 0.5 inch, just go ahead and top stitch it, just like you do in turtleneck collar. Just top stitch. So I'm done top stitching the both of them, and you can see the excess I asked you to keep. So I'm going to match the necklines together and secure with my pin. So we are going to cut out the neckline right now. So I'll secure with my pin. That is exactly what I'm doing right there. So the next thing I'm going to do, from that shoulder line, after securing with my pin right now, I'll proceed to taking the measurement of my neckline. Of course I've done it, but I want to show you what I did. I'll measure 3 inches and connect to the neckline of the back. So I'll go ahead and cut on the 3 inches line. Okay, so you have created the neckline. That is exactly what I did right there. So the neckline is created. Then we are going to take the measurement of that neckline, so we'll be able to sew a high neck collar. So I'm measuring along the zip side. So the zip has to be closed that way, and we stitch our collar. So here is my collar, and the collar width is 2.5 inches. The strip width is also 2.5 inches, so they have to match together. And the collar, I measured 15 inches and I made it 16 inches. So I've sewn the sides together, and I'm going to place the collar, as you can see right here. I'll just place and sew round. So this is how I stitch the first part of the collar. So I stitch across the zip part. So I'll just reduce the zipper and then go ahead to top stitch. So I would go ahead and top stitch, as you can see. So the dress is quite very ready. So the next thing I want to do now is to open the loops. So from that point we have our modesty panel. Just measure 2 inches till you get to the end of it. So I'll go ahead and use my eyelet machine and open, which I've done, and I'll place it on the other part and also open as well. So here I'm going to use my marker. You can use your fabric marker and make the points of the eyelets. So after making the points on the other side, I'll move ahead to open it as well. So make sure they are equal so that the lacings will be equal too. So here I'm done with my eyelet. So the next thing is the sleeve. So my basic sleeve height is 8 inches. So I place it in between a folded fabric of 22 inches when unfold, and the length of it is 18 inches. So I'll secure it with my pin right now and draw out my balloon sleeve. So this balloon sleeve is actually going to have a basic sleeve inside. So I place my fabric on fold, okay, at 22 inches. So when I open it up, I will have 44 inches. So that is how I got the balloon part of my sleeve. So make sure you make your notches. So mark out the parts that are wrong side, because we are going to gather and place right side to right side. So I've gathered and I'm going to place right side to right side of the balloon part of the sleeve to the basic sleeve. So after stitching, I'm going to fold it this way and sew my seam allowance of 1 inch. So I'm done sewing my seam allowance, leaving the part I'm going to, the upper part I want to gather to the upper basic sleeve. So I'll just gather it that way. And next is to, after gathering to my satisfaction, I'm going to turn it wrong side, right side to right side, and place the gathered part on top. So I'll make sure I place the gathered part on top of the basic sleeve, and then I'll proceed to stitch. So I'm done stitching and this is what I have. So next is to turn the dress and attach this sleeve. So I'll just go ahead and attach my balloon sleeve. So I'll put it inside and place armhole to armhole and basic and the shoulder line to shoulder line. So the sleeve is ready for both of them. The next I'm going to make is the loop. So my loop length is 90 inches and it's 2 inches by width. I'll proceed to fold it in as you can see me do and top stitch on top of it. So here my loop is ready. So that is how we come to the end of this tutorial. I'm going to use this lacing to lace this dress when I wear it. It also has a zipper at the back. You can also open up the zipper if you want the dress to fit in very well. Then you zip and you lace. Whichever way you want to do is fine and good. So I believe this tutorial was helpful to you. So please don't forget to subscribe, like this video and share to family and friends so this video goes viral. Thank you for watching. See you in the next class. Bye.